Hello everybody, my name is Jordan, and welcome to my second video series on how to build the Iron Man helmet. Now before we get started, there's a few things I feel you should know. The first being that unfortunately, I don't have a little time for this video series, so I can't tell you how I do everything. There's just too much to say and too little time to say it. The second, and I really want to put an emphasis on this, is that the components I use to build the Iron Man helmet, specifically fiberglass, resin, and Bondo, are dangerous and should not be used without proper protection. Before I did this project, I did a lot of research trying to figure out how to use fiberglass, resin, and Bondo safely. But unfortunately, almost the only thing I could find was people who were doing projects similar to mine, but with little to no protection, and didn't mention several hospital visits afterwards. I also want to tell you, it's not even trusting me with this. The way I'm building the helmet is what I consider to be safe, and what I consider is the best way. I'm accepting any risk that may come from building this helmet through that. But basically, the whole reason I'm telling you this is I don't want anyone to build a helmet the way I'm doing it, get injured, and then come to me and tell me that I didn't warn them, and I didn't tell them this stuff was hazardous. This is me warning you. The components I am using are hazardous and should not be used without proper protection. Right, so here I've got everything I'm going to need for building the Iron Man helmet. And so normally I would do this outside, but it's raining a lot, so I can't do that. It would pretty much ruin the helmet. So basically this is all you're going to need for building the helmet. Right here I've got fiberglass, of course, a respirator, and these parts here, the little cartridges. The fiberglass cloth. Now, there's two versions of this. There's fiberglass cloth and fiberglass mesh. Personally, I like using the fiberglass cloth better, just because it's less stringy. I got a cup here for mixing, or a cup here for putting it in. Little brush here, the hardener, some sunglasses, which I probably won't need, and some my gloves. Basically, now how I stay safe is that I always use a respirator, gloves, and long shirt, and long sleeve shirt, and long padded legs. That's basically everything I need. Yeah, it's raining really hard outside. I don't know if you can hear. That's everything you need to be safe with this. This is what I consider to be safe. Don't come to me if you get hurt doing this, I guess. Yeah, here's the helmet. I've never really videoed this before, but here it is. So yeah, the tape's gonna hold it there while we fiberglass. Now in this video, I'm gonna be showing you how to use fiberglass resin. I'm gonna be doing this before I make my other video, which is gonna be the main one on what I'm planning to do with the Gemma, with the Gemma and NeoPixels. But basically, I'm going to be fiberglassing the inside of right here, which I made all silver, which was a dumb thing to do. So basically, I'm going to tell you real quick. A long time ago, I made a mistake, and I left the helmet outside, and it rained. So the tape here and everything is to hold up the cracks, because I didn't fiberglass everything. And so really, it rained a lot and it cracked and it warped right here. Sorry, my camera's, there we go. It warped here, but I decided to paint it silver on the inside before I did that. And that probably was not a bright decision, which is why this piece right here isn't silver. It actually fell off. Right in here, oh, I don't know if you can see that. Right here. Yeah, that's really dark. There's a piece of cardboard right darn in here, because this piece right here came loose and it fell apart and the glue came off and stuff. So I had to put it all back together. So I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna have this all set up, and I'm gonna do some fiberglass work. So see you then. Alright, so we've had to relocate a little bit over here so it's not as close to the house. As you can probably hear, it's raining quite a bit. Yeah, so yeah, you definitely don't want to get the helmet out here. It would be okay if it was completely covered in this cloth, which I'm actually going to talk about in a bit, and what this is about. But it wasn't completely covered, so that's why we're doing this right now, to fix it up a little bit. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this cloth is important, we're going to unfold it and we're going to cut it into little squares. We need little squares so we can place it. Oh, there's not enough room for this. There we go. Okay. Yeah, we need little squares to put it in here. I'm gonna make even smaller squares to make it try and fit in little corners. But I'm just gonna do this real quick. Let's see. I hope the camera's okay. Yeah, it looks okay. All right. Yeah, this stuff is really. It's kind of like the way it's woven is kind of weird. So you can just do that. You'll see what I mean when I said it was really stringy in a second. It's really stringy. Let's see, how much am I gonna need of this stuff? Alright, I don't know. This should work. Okay. Right, so is this gonna be enough? Let's yeah, that should be enough. Let's cut one more little square just to be sure. Just to be sure. We're gonna be doing this on the inside of the helmet. Oh yeah, so basically what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to download to get the actual paper portion. You're gonna want to go and download Pepakura Viewer, which is on Tamasoft.com or .co. I don't know, it's a Japanese site, so it doesn't use com anyway. I'll put a link in it in the video. And you're gonna want to download Pepakura Viewer, which is completely free. And then I'll also have a link for the actual model of the helmet. The model isn't just the helmet. The person made like an entire suit of it. So you're gonna want to try to find the helmet specifically. Once you get that, you're gonna want to coat this. What I did specifically here was I made the helmet when I made the helmet out of paper. I made it separate with this piece and this piece unattached. Then when I fiberglassed it, I did what I did here. I put painter's tape, this is called Tara tape, along the edges. And you're going to want to fiberglass it. You're going to want to fiberglass it on the inside. Then once you've done that, oh sorry, you can't see, huh? You're going to want to fiberglass it on the inside. Then get your first little coat of this stuff in it, which I'll show you how to do. Inside here. You're going to want to avoid the places where they meet, like right here. Oh, you can't see still. Oh crap. Like right here. Right there. Here. Avoid where they meet, otherwise you're just gonna close it up. Then you're gonna want to separate it and fiberglass the outside. Well, we're gonna put this stuff on the inside though, because it's pretty hard to sand and it's gonna kind of mess up the shape. So specifically what I'm doing is when this thing warped, oh crap, it warped a little bit out of shape, so when I took it off, it wouldn't fit back on perfectly. So what we're going to do is we're going to fiberglass on the inside along here, on the inside along here, to make sure it stays like that, because this stuff's really strong. So we're going to turn it over. You're going to measure out what size pieces you're going to want, little cuts of this stuff. Yeah, this stuff is really stringy. Strings are going to come off everywhere. There we go, that's better. Jeez. And if you're not careful, this stuff's going to get all over the helmet. Little strands. You don't want that. Alright. Is that small enough? Should be. Let's cut off this though. Okay. Yeah, that should work. Then we'll just make little tiny strands like this. Little tiny squares. And keep going. Yeah, just make it so it fits in the helmet, or where you need to go. You need to do the outside. Now, it's probably better if you coat this stuff with this 2 times and put 2 layers instead of 1. That's going to make it a lot stronger. Yeah, and I'll get back to you by the time this is done. Alright guys, I've just finished cutting all the fiberglass mats into squares, and we are now ready for fiberglassing. As you can mostly see, I'm wearing my respirator, gloves, coat, and long pants for protection. And as you can see right here, I have the Iron Man helmet. Right here. Yep. And we're going to be fiberglassing the inside of the helmet, along the edges, for support, because I forgot to do this earlier. Alright. So while I'm doing stuff in the background, I'm going to talk. So first, as you can probably tell, my commentary has been recorded separately, mostly because it's distracting to talk while work, and also because if I did do that, you wouldn't be able to hear from my respirator. I'm going to grab a hammer real quick in the video. I'll mention that real quick. When you're using fiberglass resin, make sure to wipe off the edge of the of the valve, or whatever it is, with a paper towel, and then throw it away, because or else it's going to get stuck and you're going to have to do this. Although the table I'm using isn't quite stable for this, so I'm going to move to the floor. So you make sure to wipe it down and put it in the cup when you're done too. Keep it somewhere safe. I'm currently using cardboard to do this on, because I've noticed that when I do this with newspaper, it doesn't really work when I spill something. So yeah, I've noticed that I haven't talked really about my equipment much. So the gloves I use, they're just latex gloves. I found them in my house. I don't know where you can buy those specifically. And then my respirator, really quick, I'm gonna try and squeeze this out, but I'm gonna cut through it because it takes a very long time. You'll also have to squeeze if you don't do it right, because you'll have to make a little hole in the can. So yeah, I've got just about an ounce here, which is almost enough. It's almost halfway. Then I have about an ounce. I'm gonna start mixing. I'm gonna add in the harder. Oh no, wait! I gotta put on the cap first. Gonna hammer on the cap so the fumes don't get out. Sorry, it's still a bit loud. Alright, we're gonna add in hardener. Now, that line in the cup you see kind of right there is measured out in ounce. And this is a little more than half than an ounce. So I'm going to add in 12 drops of hardener. I think here I added 10, then decided to add some more in. It's a little more than half. You normally add about 20 drops per ounce, but this isn't quite enough. Yeah, right here I'm going to add in some more. So, you're going to put your resin in the cup, as you can probably tell. Make sure it's a disposable cup, because it's gonna be ruined by the time you're done with this. There's just no way to get this stuff out. And you need to mix it up real good. Make sure to mix it in really good, or else some parts are going to get harder quicker than others. And that's not really good, because you won't have a proportionate amount of hardener on your helmet or your project. So we're going to start right here in this middle piece. On that little brown piece right there. How you're going to want to do this is you want to brush on the resin from the fiberglass resin right after you're done making the paper version. You're going to want to put on resin here and just coat the entire inside of the helmet, and then you move on to this. We're going to start right here is where we're going to start. Just brush on resin. I'm using a really bad brush. The brushes I normally use are from Home Depot or Ace, and they're chip brushes, and they cost usually like 69 cents a piece, so it's pretty good. You'll go through a lot of them though. I'm gonna grab a piece, mat right here. You're gonna brush on the resin to the part that you want to apply it to, and then place down the mat right on top. Once you place it down, you want to dip your brush in more resin, and then press it down. So that you know it's going to be stuck to the helmet or whatever your project is going to be. And then what you need to do is you need to get more resin, and you need to
saturate the mat with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start poking. If we were to start brushing this while we have resin, it would slowly start pulling apart the strands, and that wouldn't be good. And it also moves around the mat. So just poke it on, just pat it on down with the brush, as you can see here. Just try to get it all. It starts out kind of a white color. You want it to be brownish by the time you're ready to move on to the next piece. Just make sure that you've secured it good enough to the helmet. Yeah, and just pat it down right there. Saturate the brush, and then saturate the mat. And try to, what we're going to do here is, real quick. I was overlapping the piece over there because it actually fell off, and I had to use hot glue. I was out of super glue, so I used hot glue. And what you want to do is, after you're done with your first mat, you want to put the next one so it's overlapping, just to make sure it's stuck to that, for extra support. And then do the same process. Brush on hardener, put it on the mat, and just saturate it by patting it. Don't brush it, or else it's just going to pull apart the strands and move it around, and that's not good. Also, the way I did this, let's talk a bit about that. So how I built the paper helmet is you just print it out, cut it, and glue it. Now I've noticed a lot of people use some hobby glue, that's some form of super glue, that's kind of expensive. To be honest, I use construction paper, and Elmer's glue sticks work just fine. For little tiny spots like that cove on the side, those little ridges, then you're going to want to use something like super glue or hot glue. Yeah, then I made the faceplate and the helmet base separately, and I just taped it on. It's same here. You want to avoid the edges where they meet, because if you don't avoid them, they're going to stick together. You'll have to get a Dremel out or a saw and start cutting it out. Yeah, just go around the side of the helmet. Normally you want to fiberglass and put mats down all around the inside of the helmet. You can't really do the outside of the helmet. That would, just because it's harder to sand and it's harder to add details and stuff, it would cover over details. So I'm just going to go around the helmet until I reach that rim, kind of where it stops, and then I'm going to work on the faceplate. This adds a lot of support. This really does. More about equipment. I don't know what I was trying to say there. About the equipment I use. Yeah, the gloves I use are just latex. I'm not sure where you can find them. They should be relatively cheap. The respirator I use, what I was about to say, the respirator I use is, I got it from Home Depot. It's a multi-purpose respirator. I think it was a steal because I got it for $17, which is really great for some of the respirators you'll find, I think. Yeah, I think it works with dust too. It's a really good respirator. Basically the rule is if you can smell the stuff you're working with, it's not a good respirator. That's the basic rule. Definitely use one that protects against fumes. The resin and the Bondo, you can find those both at Ace or Home Depot or any U.S. department store. I guess department stores in Britain or anywhere else too. This is kind of the expensive portion of it. I don't remember exactly how much it costs. Bondo was like $15, $17. It's around the 20s range. So this project is not really going to be, it's going to be a little bit expensive. So you can just find that anywhere. I got this resin at a hardware store, no, a auto parts store. So you can find them there too. You can see I'm patting it all down with resin. You can see that brown color in the middle. That's kind of what you want to go for. You just want to make sure that it's all saturated and sticky, and it's going to stick down to the bottom. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, the reason I wear the coat and long pants is just because the fumes, they'll hang around in your clothes. So what you need to do is after you're done with the helmet, immediately take out the cartridges for the respirator once you're inside too. But take off your clothes, put them in laundry, and then take a shower, just to get off all those fumes. Otherwise, people can smell you And like the general rule is, if you can smell it, it's not good. You need to change something. This stuff is, what, it's cancer causing and it kills brain cells. Bondo, by the way, they can put a severe emphasis that if you swallowed it, you would probably die. And Bondo, if left untreated on skin, will cause massive burns. So, you need to use the right gloves. This stuff works, I'm pretty sure. Don't take my word on that, though. So we're just going to pat it down a little bit more. And just brush on. Yeah, the chip brushes I use, I was actually out of them. I've done a lot of this. This is the second helmet I've ever built. The first one I built, I did pretty much everything wrong. I formatted the paper wrong, I cut it out wrong, I didn't glue it together right, I didn't use hardener, I did use hardener, but not with mats, and I didn't use any Bondo, and I didn't even sand it down. But it was pretty cool for my first experience. I've had this helmet for about a year now, just sitting around, roughly. I started about in summer. I started with the paper, because I was doing this the right way. I needed to start learning, so go slow. It may take a while when you first try. Once you're done, you can do a lot with it, though. Yeah, just place down mats. Oh, I also have a Dremel for stuff, but that's for later. Let's see, what else to talk about? Let's see. For the helmet, all I have left to do, let's see. So basically, first I'm going to tell you about specifically what these components are for. The paper that you use to print it out, that it's not exactly perfect. As you can see, there's kind of cracks and edges. So it's mainly used for just the foundation and just where you want to put everything. The fiberglass and fiberglass mats are kind of the skeleton to the build. They add support and they make sure it stays the way it is. So when you do this, you want to make sure that the helmet is in the correct position, and that it's all shaped nice, because it's not going to move after you put the mats on. With resin, after you add the first coat of resin, it's a little bit flexible, but with the mats, it adds so much structure and stability, and it's either you break it or it stays there. So this is the resin and mats are the skeleton portion, just to keep it all together and make sure it stays like this, just so you're not working with paper. The Bondo I use is the flesh. It's going to make everything look nice. So what you see here, the white portion on the helmets, that's where the Bondo is. You need to apply Bondo and then sand it down. I'll have a video for that later. And yeah, I've sanded down most of the face piece and it looks pretty good. We need to add a lot more layers though. But just make sure that you don't go over the edges where the faceplate and the back of the helmet meet. Otherwise, if you get it with resin, you can use a Dremel to cut it out. In fact, when I was done with this, I just pulled it apart. It wasn't that difficult. I was pretty good with that. If you cover it with mats, that's not good. You'll definitely have to use a Dremel. And be careful. Okay, here I'm getting the face piece a bit. Yeah, I really shouldn't have added the paint in, just because the resin, basically everything we're using here, it needs something to grip. And it's not the best if it grips paper, because it's not going to be, if the mats, it's not going to be the best if it grips the paint. It might chip off a little bit. It just doesn't add as much direct support. But I did that during the electronic brainstorm portion of building this. I've got everything figured out, but that's for a different video. Yeah, oh, the mats, that's right. You can find the mats at the same place as resin. Basically, you can find almost everything at Ace and at Home Depot, or any hardware store, or not really hobby shops, but hardware stores. I've got a lot of fiberglass mats. Sorry, I don't remember quite the costs. I'm trying to focus on fixing the helmet and making it perfect, especially with electronics. So I don't know exactly what it is for this, how much it costs. But yeah, we're gonna do this. I still have to build the ears to the helmet and fiberglass that, so we'll have another portion just showing how to do more resin work. But we're coming near the end here, so I'll just show you the final results real quick. Follow that method I was talking about. You're gonna want to brush down the resin, put down the mats, and then just saturate it. Make sure they're overlapping, just not the parts you want to come apart. Oh no, wait, no, we still got a bit left. That was wrong. Okay. Here's kind of where it is at now. You can see that brown. It's kind of hard to see. You can see the little strands and crosses. That's where all the mats are. And that's going to add a lot of strength to this. Especially, so you need, when you do this helmet, if you're going to make the face piece separate, tape it with painter's tape. Be careful though, because it will rip the paper, even construction paper, which is what I used. Just tape. I made it separate. Just tape together. Make sure you don't cover it too much. Here's my hands. They're really sticky. You don't want that on your actual hands. Here's the strands I was talking about. They're all over the board, but you can't really see them. So yeah, that's the helmet for now. I'll have a few more videos. Thanks for watching, and see you later.